Good morning.
Good morning.
It didn't sound like it was on at all. Is the microphone on?
Yes.
Okay. In the service today, this is our third Sunday in Advent, and it used to go by the old name of Gaudete, Rejoice Sunday, because the antiphon for the introit was always the first part of Philippians 4, verse 4, rejoice in the Lord always. And so on the Advent wreath, they would have a lighter colored candle to say we're getting closer to celebrating the birth of Christ and celebrating what God has done. And so this service has a kind of a celebrative sort of character to it. So we're doing the bulk of the service will be done by using what are called the O antiphons. They're a series of brief prayers that were used in the Middle Ages right before the Magnificat on the days immediately preceding Christmas. And they take the names of Christ in the Old Testament, and each of them has a promise, and each of them spells out what God is going to do when he comes in the person of Jesus Christ. And so and that was the basis also for the hymn, O Come, Emmanuel. And we will sing those verses. So we're going to celebrate with music, we're going to sing, and the service is then in slightly a different order. So we begin with just the hymn and the reading of the lessons, and then they do a sermon right off the bat. So it will be slightly different, but then we will spend the bulk of our time concentrating on this rejoicing with the hymn, O Come, Emmanuel. Take a moment to say good morning to each other. You brood of vipers. And with many other such expressions, he proclaimed to them the good news. Really? I suspect if the people were coming to be baptized by John, if we had a baptism here, and I greeted the family and relatives of the people gathered for baptism and said, you brood of vipers who warned you to come and have your child baptized, how many people would you think would ever come to that kind of a congregation, or to ever again have their child even consider being baptized at that sort of greeting? So it seems a little bit strange that that this is the introduction to Jesus, that you that you begin by calling people snakes in the grass, and clean out your closet and get rid of your excess and share your food and all of that. All right, I guess. That does not seem to be a good way to begin, and particularly on a Sunday when we're supposed to be rejoicing. This is really good news. But we need to, again, think a bit about what it is that's happening here. Last week, when we read the first part of chapter 3 of Luke, we noted that Tiberius was the emperor, and Pilate was the governor, and Herod was one of the rulers of one of the regions around in Judea, and Philip, his brother, was another one of the rulers, and the high priests, Annas and Caiaphas, were running things. And we pointed out that that was pretty much of a disaster, that was a real pit. Not much was working right at all. We get some indication of that in this lesson when some who come to talk to him are tax collectors. Tiberius, Pilate, Herod, and Philip are all collecting taxes, and there was, in addition to that, the temple tax. People were being taxed off of their farms and their lands. They were ending up being day laborers, and if no one hired them for the day, remember the story of the laborers in the vineyard? No one hired us all day. We have, let me say that over here and see if this works better. That no one hired them, and then the result was that's what it takes for every day. And if I don't earn something today, then tomorrow my family doesn't eat. When people come to John, general crowds, there are several things that we need to notice about this audience. One, when Luke uses the word crowds, those are always the people who are opposed to Jesus. When he talks about the people, those are the people who are God-fearers, those are the people who are looking forward to the coming of Christ, those are the people who will support Jesus as the Messiah. When it says the crowds come to John and say, "What should we do?" it's a way of saying, do you see this rotten system that we're in? Do you see what a mess we're in? And even some of the people involved in the mess, they're coming to John. Maybe something is about to change. Or when tax collectors come, people who are joining with the Roman government, either under Tiberius or under Pontius Pilate, or Herod and Philip are just puppets of the Roman government, when all of them are participating in the tax structure and taxing people, when some of those tax collectors who were known for cheating their own nation in the process of collecting for this foreign army of occupation, when they come and say, and what should we do? And John tells them, don't take any more than what is your due. Don't cheat. And the soldiers, likewise, a soldier was permitted at that day to walk up to anyone and to force them to carry his pack, usually about 100 pounds, for at least 1 mile. We hear about that in the Gospel of Matthew. They were also permitted to take their sword and stick it at somebody's throat and say, I need some of your money. Since they are military and they have the weapons, you generally didn't argue too much. So John is saying to them, don't do that. Be satisfied with your wages and don't use your brute power to threaten other people.